And we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Sheep Get Sheared Podcast. Here we talk about people, politics, and popular culture. I'm your host, Austin Creed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the show. Today, we're going to talk about what's on everybody's mind all the time, and that is sex. We're going to be talking about sex, and here's my first question. Why do you think America is obsessed with sex? This is a genuine question. No matter where I go, even if it's to the grocery store, you see sex selling everything. You see sex and culture everywhere that you go, whether it's movies, advertisements. You can even look at the LGBTQ community and how they've been pushing sexual identity. You could call it abnormal sex depending on what you consider to be normal. But the real question is, why? Why is America obsessed with sex? Is it justified? Is it abnormal? Is it bad? Is it good? Where do you stand? Well, stick around because that's what we're talking about today. We're also going to be talking about why in America we're obsessed with sex, but yet the birth rate seems to be going down. Seems kind of backwards if you ask me, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about the numbers of, apparently, the numbers are in, and wouldn't you know it, the rate of people who are identifying as LGBTQ plus going up yet again. We'll discuss that. So, for those of you who are new, for those of you who are already here, you know what I'm about to say, but for those of you who are new, I make a lot of comments, ask a lot of questions, and if you want to let your voice be heard, you can either hit me up in the comment section of the YouTube or Rumble that you're watching this on, or if you're listening to the show audio, you can hit me up on Twitter at Austin Creed. We can discuss it. You can discuss with other people in the community. We can all talk about it, because I think it's important when people come together and everybody's voice is heard and everybody knows that either A, they're not alone, or B, they can defend their position, or maybe learn something new. So, without further ado, we're going to hop right in, and I know you're begging to know where I stand on this. I'm sure you're thirsting for it. You're probably going to expect me to either take the Hallmark Christian side, or you're going to expect me to, I don't know what you're going to expect me to do. I don't know who you think I might be. But before we really hop into this, before we talk about the birth rates, and we talk about why America is obsessed with sex, and why for some reason, sex is at an all-time high and birth is going to an all-time low, we're going to first look at this. We're going to look at, according to the Gallup poll, the LGBTQ number, so people who identified as LGBTQ plus was 5.6% in 2020, and it is now up to 7.1%. Now, that 7.1% isn't about your neighborhood. Not about your city, not about your state. No. That is the entirety of the country of adults identify as being LGBTQ+. That's correct. So, and look at that. According to Gallup, 1 in 5 Gen Z adults identify as a member of the community. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether that's good or bad. I personally don't care. What I'm more interested in is why? Why is the number rising? Look, it says here, it has doubled from 2012, which is just over 10 years ago. So, why do you think in 10 years the number has doubled? Do you think that more of these people are being born, maybe? Do you think that maybe people see how liberating it is? How amazing it is, and they've just decided that they want to be free. No, my friends, it's because of the culture. Let me tell you, I've met people in my life, and I've even been this person at one point where I didn't know where I belonged. I didn't know who I was, didn't know what I wanted, didn't know what people wanted from me or expected from me. Now I don't care. But back in the day, I really didn't know. And so what I did was, instead of saying, you know what, I don't give a damn what anybody says about me, I don't give a damn if they like it, if they don't like it, they can kiss my ass. Well, instead, what I decided to say was, you know what, I want to figure out what people want from me, and because I want them to like me, I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to give them exactly what they want me to do. Now, of course, I quickly figured out that that was, well, rather stupid, because guess what? When you do that, when you try to appeal to everybody, you end up appeasing nobody, because one person says they want one thing, the other person says they want the inverse, and then that's subject to a whimsical change at any time. So I quickly realized the whole thing was a bunch of garbage and a waste of time, and that if people didn't like me for who I was, well, they can kick rocks, and I really didn't give a shit. But when you look at other people, apparently, when they look at, my gay friend seems to get a lot of support at his LGBTQ plus club at high school. Or, hey, you know what? I saw this influencer on TikTok, and they got all this radical support on TikTok because they're transgender, and I really want that same support. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be just like them, and everybody's going to love me. Everybody's going to tell me that I'm so brave. I'm really sticking it to that patriarchy, those white evil crackers. I'm really sticking it to those Christian Puritans. I'm really sticking it to those dang Republicans. Those stiffy Republican check pants losers. I'm sticking it to them. Now, you're going to have to beg my pardon. I need to be humorous, because if I'm not humorous about this, it can drive me insane. But what we are going to do is we're going to look at this chart. Now, look at the chart. It says back in 2012, the percent identifying as a member of the Rainbow Riding Club was at 3.5%. Now, oh, look at this. This is back in 2021. Look at that. It's even a couple years ago. 2 years ago, that number had more than doubled. So, it took less than 10 years for that number to go from 3.5% to 7.1%. Who is responsible for this large increase? Now, I am no stranger to the fact that people who are homosexual, people who maybe don't feel neurotypical and they're eccentric, they're foofy, they're a little bit different, They've always existed, whether it's in the Pacific Islander cultures, they used to honor those people. They used to be valued members of the community, or whether it's just people used to do it behind closed doors and potentially back alleys, But now it's praise. Now you're brave for being different. Now, we don't care if that difference is good or beneficial for society. No. We don't care about that. We just care that you're different. Now, being a hero used to mean that, you fought in World War II, or you fought in Korea, or you fought in Vietnam, or you were a firefighter, or you were a cop, or you actually, did something of value to society. But apparently, telling people that you have that you have gay sex, or that you cut your schmendrick off, or that you had sewn one onto your body, apparently that passes for heroism, because when you look at this number increasing, apparently 21% of my generation, Gen Z, now identify as LGBTQ+, which is nearly double, the proportion of millennials. Now, I can't help but notice, you look at Gen Z, my generation, Gen Alpha, which is just not far behind, if not they're being born right now. Then you have the millennial generation, you got Gen X, was I right? Yeah, you got Gen X, then you got the boomers, and then you got the silent generation. Now, I can't help but notice, my grandfather and my grandfather's friends, they don't really do any of this. Look at that. I didn't even notice they had a chart. I'm going to be real. I did not read this before I pulled it up for the show today. I didn't even realize they were going to bring up the generational statistics, and I'm talking about it right now. For those of you who are watching, I honestly had not looked that far. I was looking at the camera, not looking at the screen. But apparently, looking at the screen, they're about to mention what I'm mentioning right now. So, Gen Z, if you were born between 1997 and 2003, which I am included in that list, apparently 21% of us are rainbow riders and the other are straight. Millennials 10%, so like I said, double the millennials, which is at 10%. Gen X, which is probably your mother and your father's generation, 4%. Again, look at the double. Look, it's almost consistently doubled every generation. From the traditionalist, in other words, your grandfather or great-grandfather who fought in World War II, less than 1%. Let's look at that. Almost tripled to the baby boomers. If you look at this number, it triples and then it just starts doubling. Why do you think this is happening? Now, admittedly, again, I really don't care what you do behind closed doors. That's none of my business. When it becomes my business is when you start... It becomes my business if you're the governor or legislature in the state of Washington, where you are incentivizing kids to go there and flee their houses to get quote-unquote, gender-affirming treatment so that you can then basically be, what is that book again? Oliver Twist. You can be the homosexual version of Oliver Twist. My friends, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you've ever read Lenin or Engels or Marx or any of those ilk, you know, the communist godfathers of the earth, you'll notice that Lenin especially, he likes to point, if you read Lenin, you'll realize this, he was a very firm believer in getting the kids, because if you got the kids, you got the next 2 generations, minimum. Because as soon as they learned something, they would then teach their children, who then would teach their children, etc. That is what we're seeing now. And in fact, if you look at the numbers here, we go from 0.8% to 2.6% to 4.2% to 10.5% to 20.8% from the traditionalist generation to Gen Z of the LGBTQ plus generation. The LGBTQ plus numbers going up. Now, I can't help but also notice that because this isn't happening in a vacuum, because the culture is becoming more and more, oh, you're brave. Oh, you're a hero. You are exactly what the American dream talked about. And in fact, anybody who says otherwise, they should definitely be deplatformed, because they're definitely part of the patriarchy. They probably voted for evil man Donald Trump. And if they tell you that you are not the new heroes of America, they definitely need to be investigated by the new FBI. I definitely think that we should go and get them on a watch list, because they are standing in the way of the new America. They are standing in the way of the amazing, new, liberated America that the amazing leadership of Joe Biden, best president in American history, by the way, he wants to indoctrinate us, educate us into a brand new world where everybody is accepted and loved. And if you can't afford this love, and you can't afford this education, well, don't you worry your little head, because Uncle Joe and Auntie Alexandria Cortez, they're going to make sure that you can afford it. And Uncle Bernie got your back. He's going to make sure that you get everything for free. Because I think those stupid pig rich, they should pay for everything. And if they don't, then they're just rich capitalist pigs. And you should probably go to their house, and you should probably just, take all their furniture, take all their money like they did in China under Mao Zedong. I think that's exactly what the new America needs. Because in the new America, we want to be fair. The new America, we want everybody to have fairness. And we definitely cannot have justice without peace. And you know what? I don't think the poor can be peaceful, because everybody knows that if you're poor, you're just going to commit crime. So you know what we should do? We should just make everybody equally poor, so that nobody wants to steal from anybody, and the people that you could steal from have armed security in the military, so you can't steal from them. You know what? I think that's what the new America needs. And when that happens, everybody can have all of the homosexual sex, all of the transgender sex, and all of the sex and liberation that you've always wanted. And you don't have to worry your little heads about socialized medicine, global warming, or anything, because you won't have to. Because those people at the top, those rich politicians who have all the power and all the money in the new America, they'll make sure that you're well provided for. And don't you worry, because now that you don't have a car, now that you used to have an electric car before, the power grid couldn't support it, I definitely think that you, my friend, you're living in a fair society. And that is exactly what the amazing Democrats want to do for us. You see, when you think like that, the world really doesn't seem that bad, does it? You mix a little bit of potential illicit drug use and some alcohol and maybe some antidepressant medication, and then you think like this, then the world seems really beautiful, doesn't it? Well, my friends, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's a couple problems with the beautiful scene I just set for you. All of it's crap. All of it is crap, and it would be so beautiful if it wasn't so dystopian and dangerous. And I can't help but also notice that with the drop in birth rate, with the rise in the LGBTQ plus rate, the birth rate is going down, the immigration rate is going up. So that leads me to the second part of the discussion today, and that is, why is America's birth rate low? And if we're so obsessed with sex, which we are in America today, why is it that the birth rate's low? And if America isn't having a lot of kids, there are other countries with lower birth rates, by the way, but which countries have the highest? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because I have the answer for you if you're ready for it right here. Here it is. The BBC has the numbers if you're ready to listen to it. Here we go. Let me share the screen. All right. According to the BBC, why is the fertility rate falling? Well, the fall in the fertility rate is not down to sperm count. No. Instead, it can be boiled down to 3 key factors. You ready for this now? Fewer deaths in childhood, meaning women who have fewer babies. Okay, that makes sense. Greater access to contraception. Birth control. Yep. More women in education and work. In other words, women don't want to have kids. They want to be a boss babe and get their own money and freeze their eggs and then have a child at 45. That's what they're talking about. But let's look at, before I show you the numbers, what countries do you think have the highest birth rate in the world, and which ones do you think have the lowest? Because the numbers might shock you. Oh, and don't worry, I won't just give you the numbers. We're going to look into why, because of course, things don't just happen in a vacuum. There's always a reason for it. So let's look. Where women are having the most children. Now, this is back in 2017, but I doubt much has changed. All right, number 1 is Niger. Birth rate 7.1, with the global average being about, what is that, about 3? How do you like that? Actually, more like 2.2. Looks, yeah, it looks about to be the global average. Chad. 6.7. I think is it Chad? I don't remember. Look, I'm not super multicultural. I hate to break it to you. I'm really not. Somalia, 6.1. Mali, 6. Afghanistan, 6. South Sudan, 5.9. Oh, God. I don't know how to pronounce this. Burkina Faso, 5.4. Burundi, 5.3. Uganda, 5.2. Oh, God. Look at that. The lowest is 5.1. So, before we go to the lowest, what countries do you think have the lowest birth rates? Now, I also can't help but notice that the countries on the top of the list, the people who live in these countries are Muslim. According to the search, you look at Niger, 98% of the population identifies as Muslim. So, why is it that the more sexual repression equals more children? You would assume it'd be the opposite, but I'm about to show you that that's exactly false. Because if you look at these sexually repressed quote-unquote countries that are mostly Muslim, by the way, they have a birth rate very high, above the global average. And then you look at more countries that are secular, lowest birth rates. Number 1, Cyprus, 1. Taiwan, 1. South Korea, 1.2. Puerto Rico, 1.2. Thailand, 1.2. Poland, 1.3. Japan, 1.3. Now, I want to ask you, why is it that countries that are more developed are having less children, and countries that are more developed have less kids, and ones that are less developed have more kids? Who is responsible for this drop in the birth rate of multiple different countries? In fact, let's look this up real quick. For those of you who are watching, you're getting this live. Let's look. American birth rate. Oh, look at that. 1.6 in the New America. We used to have almost 4. And back in 1960, we were almost at 4. Now we're down to 1.6. Oh, God, look at this. China in 1960 was at 4.5. They went up to almost 8. And now they're back down to 1.5. My friends, I want to ask you something. Why do you think it is that with the more sex we have in America, as America has become more sexually liberated, why are there less children being born? Why is it that more kids seem to be being born in these countries that are very repressed, very orthodox in religion? Why is that happening? Why do you think that with the obsession and the constant consuming of sex in America, why has that led to a birth rate that is quickly declining? Well, I mean, I know the answer. You don't need to tell me the answer. I know what the answer is. The answer is contraceptives, number 1, lack of religion, number 2, and marriage courts, number 3, because now that with the common law marriage and with the no-fault divorce and everything else and the emphasis of feminism of the free woman, now people don't view having a family as actually bringing anything to society, when the entire backbone or cornerstone of civilization is the family itself. See, people want to benefit from society without actually having to contribute a lot to society. Some people might argue that I don't contribute much to society, when, in fact, I contribute more than most people. I'll tell you that right now. With all the deadbeat bums and illegal aliens in the country who come here to work, and by work, I mean they come here to work the system, not work the fields or work in the factories like my great-grandfather did. They don't have to do that. You see, back in the day when my great-grandfather came here, he actually had to work at the factories. You know, when he came here, he actually worked in the factories instead of, coming here to sit on his fat behind and work the system like a lot of the so-called migrants do today. I can't help but notice that. I also can't help but notice that they don't have voter ID laws in the country. I also can't help but notice that with the lack of voter ID laws and the influx of illegal aliens, I also can't help but notice that the benevolent U.S. government is subsidizing their housing, and I also can't help but notice that they're giving them stuff for free. Now, I want to ask you something. Why do you think that's happening? Now, I get it. Look, we're getting off the track here. But all of this is tying in. As the birth rate in America is going down, the immigration rate is going up. That's not an accident. They are trying to replace you. Yes, you. You, Mr. Small Businessman. You, Mr. 9 to 5. You, Mr. I'm a family man trying to support my family, or I'm a young guy trying to get out of my parents' house. They're trying to replace you with cheap labor from South America, from the Middle East, from Africa. They're trying to import these people in who will barely speak English, be more than happy to take minimum wage jobs plus tip, and will be more than happy to vote Democrat. You really didn't think there was a correlation between the giant influx of illegal aliens, the drop in the birth rate, and the lack of voter ID laws in the country? You couldn't put 1 + 1 + 1 and come up with 3, huh? Well, I can. I do it every day on the show. But again, that's not the main point. The main point is America is obsessed with sex. In a lot of ways, sex is like oxygen. You only notice it only becomes important when you don't have it. When you have it, you take it for granted. When you don't have it, you notice very quick. Now, personally, I am into sexual transmutation. I'm into using my sexual energy towards creating new things and creating new opportunities for me and the people around me and the people who are on my team. Besides that, I don't think there's a lot of really anything to gain by just hooking up with a bunch of chicks. I think it's a large waste of time, a good way to throw your health and your time and your money down the garbage disposal. But hey, if you want to be Mr. Mac of the Year, if you want to be Mr. Pimpin', if you want to act like 50 Cent and everybody did back in the day when, dating used to be kind of fun, go ahead, go ahead. You won't amount to much until maybe you're 35 to 40, and then you'll wake up and realize you wasted your time. Or maybe your schmendrick will look like an Almond Joy bar, and you'll realize you messed up. But I hope that doesn't happen. But I'm telling you, you're wasting your time. Sex is a distraction. There's a book. For any of you who read or listen to audiobooks, there's a book I'd recommend. If you're looking to get into sexual transmutation, which I would highly recommend you do, first thing you need to do is look up a guy named Napoleon Hill. One of the best. First book you should listen to is called Outwitting the Devil. And as soon as you're done with that, you go to Think and Grow Rich, where Napoleon Hill talks in very specific detail about sexual transmutation. And Outwitting the Devil, he talks about how if you, yes you listening to this show, if you took half the time, half the energy that you used on trying to get sex, and you allocated it towards your work, your profession, your side hustle, whatever, you would never know poverty. Yes, you heard me right. That's why I challenge you to stop chasing skeezers. Stop trying to get married if you're broke. Stop trying to think that, I'm gonna pull these hoes and I'm gonna be so alpha. I'm gonna be awesome and I'm gonna get all this bad respect and blah 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 blah. No, it's stupid. You look goofy. Cut it out. No one cares. You know what people do care about is if you succeed. If you say, hey, I'm gonna do something, and you do it. If, hey, you know what? 5 years ago I was broke, and 5 years later I'm pulling down $2,000 a month. $5,000 a month. That's what people notice. That's what will make you feel better in life. Not pumping and dumping, not going on not helping girls out on the carousel, not doing any of that. Not gonna help. Waste of time, waste of your health, waste of your money, waste of your attention, all of it. Don't do it. Sex is a distraction, my friends. It is not the goal. It is not a mark of success. It is a distraction. And that goes across the board. Don't do it. It's a waste of your time. Same thing can go for alcohol. Same thing can go for anything else in life. It is a distraction. And it is something you cannot afford. Because it sucks your time. Once in a while, might be justifiable. But if it's consistent and you're doing it all the time, you got a problem. And the only person you're hurting is you. You might be hurting other people around you, but the person you're hurting the most is the person you see in the mirror. That's the person suffering the most. Anyways, my friends, I think I made my point. I think you get what I'm saying, and I'm sure many of you will have a lot to say, and I look forward to hearing it. Like I said, if you are offended, if you are astounded, if you're happy, if you're sad, you're angry, grateful, whatever, go ahead and hit me up on the comment section on YouTube or on Rumble. Or if you're listening to the show audio only on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening to the show. Or if you're on YouTube or Rumble and you want to just troll me, get to know me, whatever, find me on Twitter at Austin Creed, and we can discuss it. We can, I want to hear your thoughts. Now, before I go, I want to let all y'all know I'm going to be on vacation the next couple days. So I will be doing a show, but it might just be audio only because I won't have my full setup because I'm going on vacation. And your boy ain't Big Meech, so I don't have tons and tons of equipment yet. So if you don't see anything on YouTube or on Rumble, that's why, because I'm not using my video camera. I'm using just a microphone. So you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just look up Sheep Get Sheared. You'll find it. You can type it probably into Google at this point. I'm not sure if I doubt I'm not mainstream yet, but you can definitely find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You'll find the show. Anyways, my friends, like I said, comments, questions, concerns, direct them to the comment section or my Twitter handle at Austin Creed, and we can discuss it, or you can discuss it with other people. But until next time, my friends, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless this beautiful country called the United States of America. We're out of here. Peace.